My guest is Harry Boxer today. We're talking about what you should be doing during those first 30 minutes of the market. What kind of patterns should you be looking for? So Harry, how do you kind of spend those first 30 minutes when the market is opening? Are you just kind of watching for what you're going to trade that day?
Absolutely. I'm pouring through dozens of charts, but most of those are charts that I've put on my watch list because there's some news-related item that's indicating to me it could gap or it is gapping. And then I'm going to watch the first 20 minutes or so, at which point I come on and do a little mini webinar with my subscribers and let them know how these early patterns are developing. And what I'm looking for is a price volume thrust from the get-go. And then I'm looking for a quiet period where stock is drifting, consolidating, forming a pennant, a flag, a wedge, something that's a continuation pattern that could lead to further upside. And when that pattern comes to that little apex, or all of a sudden the low volume ebb, I call it, gets really quiet, and then boom, all of a sudden the volume comes in and the stock makes another thrust, we usually buy that first thrust with a tight stop underneath the bottom of the pattern.
Now, I know for a lot of newer traders, they're often told to avoid the first 20 minutes because there's so much volatility going on. But it seems that after a while, more experienced traders say, look, I only trade the first 30 minutes because I need that movement.
Well, but they don't trade in the first 30 minutes. They trade after the first 20, 30 minutes and then ride it for the next hour or so. That's what I find. And the best trades that I've seen are the ones that after that first consolidation or pullback and the rest of the day. In other words, just keep raising your stops all day. You can stay in a stock all session and really make big money if a stock continues to channel. Channel up, that parallel 45-degree angle is what I look for all day. When a stock is channeling and going up in a very orderly pattern, it can do it all day, and it often does.
And how do you find an entry there? Are you waiting for a little bit of a pullback first before you get in?
Usually I look for some pullback or consolidation after the first thrust. I don't want to chase a stock. But I'll wait for either the pullback to get to its support level, often the 50-period moving average. A lot of times they'll come down to the 50 and bounce. And when they do that with volume, it's much more of a reliable indicator to me that it may start to trend that day.
Do you find there's a certain sector this works really well with? Is there more volatility in the tech sector that you're kind of following a lot?
Well, tech and biotech. But there's, you know what? You could look at any stock that's on the top 10 or 20 most volatile trades. Some days it's retail stocks. You know, it doesn't, banking stocks, we've seen, you know, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Citibank trending beautifully and being great day trades, but I tend to stick with stocks that are in the 5 to 35 range. I like liquidity. I also like leverage. I like to be able to buy more shares of something and have it go up as opposed to trading Apple or Amazon or something and being able to buy 200 or 300 shares and not really, even if it does go 5 points, it's not as much as if you had 10,000 shares of a $5 stock that went up 50 cents.
All right, now, what about homework in the evening? How much time should I be spending with kind of getting that basket together that I'm watching the next day?
Well, I find I used to do a lot of that, but the majority of stocks that go on my list early are the ones I usually trade. So even though I have a big list of stocks that I'm watching, and they will come up on the percent gain list if the market moves them, but I may not be watching them pre-market because even though the patterns look good, I'm not sure they're going to move the next day. Sometimes they'll consolidate for 3 or 4 more days before they're ready to go. So I'm only interested in what's moving that morning.
Okay. Harry, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You're watching the MoneyShow.com video network.